always, remember, if you have any questions, feedback, suggestions, make sure to type it into the chat so that we can not only read it, but also record it so that we can address anything that doesn't get addressed here. So, let's go ahead and give a quick introduction. Wally, take it away.
Well, hello there. I'm Wally, your friendly neighborhood support giraffe, here to stomp trolls, answer tickets, and make sure everybody's having a great time.
Excellent. Daisy?
My name is Daisy, and I work across several departments.
I'm Lacey, community manager, and I do things. All right, Alex.
I'm Alex. I'm the product manager.
Excellent. All right. So just a couple of quick updates. We've got some really big shows coming up, as you guys have probably seen. A whole new spring season, Lost Horizon. There's a couple of them that we'd love to have a couple of pre-shows for. So if you're a DJ and you're interested, please contact me, because I'd love to get some of the community DJs to open up for some of the shows upcoming, to send me a message. The call for DJs is all that. And the other thing is we're announcing today is that the community campfires that we have on Friday that have been known and loved are actually going to start being ran by the ambassadors. So if you want to host a campfire, you can contact any of the ambassadors, and it's going to be a bit more of community control, by the community for the community. So there we go. All right, that's my announcements. Let's go ahead and does engineering product have any announcements?
Yeah, actually, I invited Steele here to give us some upcoming teasers of the next week. We're planning a release with a couple of features. Steele, you want to fill folks in on what we can expect from that?
Sure. Okay, so we have a couple new script APIs that we're going to be putting out hopefully next week. Oh, thank you. One of them is going to allow you to actually trigger the screenshot tool through script commands. So you can do things like have trigger volumes that when people hit them, it brings up the screenshot tool, for like roller coasters, if you want to take pictures. Click on a button and it'll activate the screenshot tool with a timer, stuff like that. The cool thing about it, though, is that you can actually tie that screenshot tool to the cameras. So you can actually set a camera in world with the screenshot script set to it. And when the screenshot tool is activated, it actually snaps to that camera position. So yeah, selfie booths. The other thing that we're doing is custom reactions. So, all of our reactions with, the toast, the panda, all these things. We have a new script API that's going to be coming in that's going to let you make your own custom reactions. Basically, the way it'll work is that any of the objects in your inventory, you'll be able to use your reaction. We recommend that you use those billboards for these reactions. Just two triangles, make a nice square, use it as a billboard. It can be animated, whatever you want. The script API, though, will actually let you call those objects into the world and use them as reactions. So we're just finishing those up right now. The last little bits we're working right now is just on documentation and getting them set up to be simple scripts in the Sansar script library. So, yep, those are the two new script APIs we're coming up with.
The
Awesome.
other fancy
Thank
dandy
you.
thing that comes with that he didn't mention, which I think is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Inventory items can
Inventory
now have
thumbnails. Yeah. So part of those reactions is in order for the reaction thumbnail to actually show up in the emote panel, it needs to have a thumbnail. So we've got a new system where objects in your scene editor inventory, you can right click on them and you'll have an option now to set a custom thumbnail for them, which is going to be super nice because, yeah, it's going to help identifying inventory items a lot quicker. But those thumbnails will also be used for the emotes thumbnail. That thumbnail reaction. That thumbnail does propagate through the store. So if you do set a thumbnail, when people purchase that item, it'll also have a thumbnail in that person's inventory too. So it does propagate through.
Awesome.
It's super cool. Yeah. It does have some restrictions, like the max resolution is only like 280, but that's just because it's a thumbnail. It doesn't need to be huge. But those restrictions are all in the description. When you right click and change a thumbnail, it'll tell you what those restrictions are.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
And we already had a question kind of on that front regarding whether or not you build a buy and sell reactions. You build a buy and sell the things that are effectively used as the reactions, and we'll have a script in the library that you can use by default, but obviously you can write your own too if you want to get into that. So yeah, short answer.
Yeah, and like any other script object is when you have embedded assets in that script, they all get pulled through too. So you do need to be careful that you're using properly licensed assets, because it's the same issue you have normally where if you're using old assets that were before the licensing system, or you purchased an asset off the marketplace that isn't resellable, that will limit your ability to sell that reaction essentially. So just be
But
careful
if you
with what you assign to that.
yeah, if you make it all though, then yeah, no problem.
Yeah, if you make it all yourself, you'll be fine.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
That is really exciting stuff right there. Awesome. So I'm sure we have a lot of questions on their way. We're gonna go ahead and start them off. First one is from Dr. Fan. Will we ever be able to upload mesh in .glb/.gltf? Thanks.
Honestly, can't say off the top of my head right now. No plans to, but that's not to say never.
All right, I think that's a pretty great answer for that. Next question is from Medhu. Is there any limit on the flipbook texture size and resolution for these emotes?
For the reactions, you mean, Medu?
I think that's what he meant.
I imagine. Yeah, I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
It's, as far as I know, it's going to be the same restrictions we have on like normal textures. So your size is going to be limited to 4K. And then depending on your flipbook, how many frames essentially you want, you just set that up in the material editor. So you just need to remember that most of our reactions here, they're only like, I don't know, 6, maybe 10 frames of animation. And then the script on it is what's making it like bounce up into the air and come back down. That's all just part of the script. So 4K is the max that you're allowed to upload textures at. So if you wanted an emote that's like 1080 by 1080, you'd have 4 frames. So it just kind of depends on how high resolution you want that reaction to be. So 4K is the max, and I mean it's just whatever resolution you want is what you set your XY flipbook frames to be.
Cool. Thanks, Jill.
Brilliant. All right. Currently, we actually don't have any more questions. So does anybody, if you have any questions right now, please go ahead and type those in, because we'd like to get those addressed, because our lovely folks here have to go rather soon. A couple of meetings are going on. But while you guys type up your questions, feedback, all sorts of fun stuff, I did want to announce something I forgot to announce, which is that product meetups will now be on Wednesdays. It is a better time for everyone on the team, so this way we can have more of the team show up. So this time on Wednesdays most of the time, unless stated otherwise. So every other Wednesday. But yeah, I think that we actually have a couple of more typed up questions right here. This is from Paisley. More of a comment than a question, but someone mentioned at one of the more recent meetups that they would like to see more clarity with the pinning tool in the lookbook. I think that was in relation to having something visualize the pens, or to get like a hint. If you could clarify that, Paisley, we'd be happy to address that.
I don't think they need to clarify it. It's pretty obvious. It's a hidden feature that is then invisible once you find it. Makes sense that you'd want a little bit more indication for where those things are, what they do, and how to use them.
Yeah, and the whole pinning thing has been an issue for a while. We've been trying to figure out how to do that, but a lot of that comes from I just
Marvelous
lost the
design.
name. Marvelous.
That's good to know. The next one that we have is from Dansei, which is any updates on individual volume control or the new chat design?
No new updates. For those of you who got to hang out with me and Zero Cheese and the crew and we demoed the UI a few months back, we're still just working along those designs. Obviously, I haven't been able to ship it quite yet, but still working on it. I can't say exactly when it's going to come out, we've got some partner requirements coming in that take precedent in a couple occasions. So priorities shift here and then. You guys know how it is.
All right, that's a good answer.
But I'll keep you guys posted as we get more clarity, and as we get some more teasers, I'll definitely throw them your way.
Awesome. Yeah. The other thing is that I think I mentioned this in one of the past meetups, but we also are on browser and mobile, so you can chat in those chats as well. Although that's not really quite related to this UI, but for the upcoming shows, that will also be on browser and mobile. The next question is from AI or Al. I'm not sure. A question out of the blue: is NFT, non-fungible token, something that we could implement here?
I haven't looked into it personally. I couldn't say. So
Not in the near
something
term. That's not
Yeah.
something that's currently on the roadmap.
All
It
right.
could, but it's not something we're currently looking at.
Interesting question.
That's a product decision. Yeah.
Is that like cryptocurrency or something?
It's related to blockchain.
Okay.
On the blockchain, yeah. High Fidelity, when it was 3D, had a blockchain economy.
Right. The next question: custom backpacks. That's from Zero Cheese.
Yeah, still on the roadmap. This custom reactions is kind of moving in that direction, right? Giving you guys the tools to upload, sell, and share your own in-world pizzazz. Still moving towards custom backpacks. And again, so everyone's clear, that's just custom backpacks for your world. You're not going to be able to take laser guns and all sorts of crazy stuff to other people's worlds quite yet.
Awesome. Next one that we have is from Elfin Maid. Can we have an importable avatar with a folder with textures like the Silas and Fitty Bucks one that I used to paint this male avatar, but there's no female one? Then we who don't use 3D software can at least paint skin.
So that one actually sounds like it's more of asking for the custom skin textures. It is something we've been working on for a while. Right, Alex?
Custom skin textures? Yeah. We're both on a couple different fronts. Studios working on improved default textures, and then also the ability for just uploading custom ones in the lookbook, but not there yet.
Yes, that would be a great thing to have.
Can world creators turn off emote flipbooks, not allow anyone to grief an event with... Well, Med, why would you have an event venue that allowed people to run 4K emotes?
Yeah, so to
it's always up to
clarify,
the world creator, right? So
yeah,
if you
the
create
world
a world
creator.
with those reactions, then people are allowed to use them. You're not. It's just like the backpack that I just mentioned. You're not going to be able to take your 4K reactions into someone else's world. It's the world's reactions. So every world you go into will have a possibly unique set of reactions that you use for that world. Yeah, glad you clarified, because God knows what people would bring into your world otherwise.
That's important to clarify. Yeah.
It's the same with the backpack. They could just bring anything in. So that's why we kind of want to keep it on the world creator gets to define what can be spawned.
We would have a lot of aubergines everywhere, I can tell you that much.
I can see a future, though, where there's a checkbox that says, let them bring their own. And those sandbox worlds are going to get a little crazy.
No.
It's possible.
Sounds like very fun chaos. All right.
I just voice stutter from many users, and when will it be fixed? We've done a lot of work in the past couple of years to rectify that issue, and each time we stomp it, it gets better, and then something else crops up, low-key. So usually what we do is we ask just for more info from you, like what your machine is, what kind of internet do you have, where are you located, that sort of thing, and then we can try to diagnose on a case-by-case basis to try to figure out what's going on for you, and then figure out if that's like a more comprehensive issue or just localized to you. Because in the past we have found some engine issues, shall you say, that caused some stuttering and some static and some weird things that we've fixed. So I would like to believe that any further issues are more of like a internet ISP local computer issue, but we're happy to look into it with you.
Awesome. Next question we have is from Terj. Any plans for folders and subfolders in the inventory?
Oh yeah, they're plans.
Yeah, Studios has been begging for that one too.
Plans. I mean, the thumbnail textures in the inventory is a step in the right direction, but folders are still on the roadmap. Majika, custom eye textures. Yeah, that's kind of in the same realm as updated skin textures, both default and allowing you guys to upload your own down the road, but not there yet. Sansar on Mac, not even answering that. Any chance to have WASI key support in the scripting? Useful. Yeah, that would be great.
You were actually just talking
I
about
think-
this.
I think the reason we've elected to avoid that in the past is because of worrying about people joining worlds and having their inputs just being absorbed by something else and not knowing where it's going. But like we kind of give you guys enough rope to hang yourselves with in worlds anyway, so I don't see why we shouldn't do that. In other words, we should give you WASD script control.
Yeah, basically, if anything breaks in that situation, it's a script error, and that kind of just comes down to the creator needing
Yeah.
to fix their script, which
Exactly.
currently breaks worlds anyway. So
Exactly. We don't stop you guys from breaking your own worlds. So yeah, good idea. I can't say when that's going to go in though. What else we got?
There's no other questions currently we have. If you guys have any other questions, we'll get a few more in.
I didn't tell Henry to shut up. I just said I wasn't answering the answer our Mac question.
If you have a Mac, you can join us for events on the browser. There you go.
Or Google Boot Camp and then launch Windows on your Mac and then play Sansar.
shh.
Yeah, there you go. There is a question we have from Evo Av. He says, I learned that with 10 lines of code and a couple of trigger volumes, it is possible to simulate water buoyancy. But because it's a server-side script,
A little laggy, yeah.
yeah, it's sensitive to breaking because of client-side physics sync issues. Can we get a system resource that will act as water that has support for client-side buoyancy physics?
I can't say yes. It's an interesting idea. I'm curious what you want to use it for, other than like a swimming pool.
We could use it for things like zero-G rooms, space simulation. That'd be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
That would be very cool.
We don't have very good character authority for 0G at the moment. Like there's walking.
Yeah, you'd
and there's
either look like
falling.
you're, yeah, you would
That's it.
look like you're walking in the air or always in the falling animation.
Yeah, exactly. So we would need like another subset of animations to make that not look silly, shall I say.
Awesome.
I remember the bug we had when I forget what caused it, but when you stood up from it was you when we added sit positions to things, you could rotate the seat, and then if you stood up from the seat, your character would be rotated at the same angle that the seat was at. So like if you rotate the seat 90 degrees and then stand up, your character is just like perpendicular to the ground, just walking
Yeah,
sideways.
it was the same bug we just recently had with dynamic sit points, where if you teleported to a friend who was sitting in a dynamic sit point that was rotated, you would teleport to them in that rotated angle.
That's great.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
I love those bugs.
That was a pretty fun one. The next one we have is from Medhu. Currently, with the new dynamic sit points in vehicles, I've not been able to make a vehicle using sit points with a rigged mesh for riding an animated horse. Will rigs ever work with sit points in vehicles?
In theory, yeah. I don't have the chops to speak to that, unfortunately.
So
It's like a
the
stretch
biggest
question.
problem, yeah, that's way more of a stretch question. The only thing I can think of right now, though, is that generally speaking, with keyframed animation stuff, those are usually going to come in as either static or keyframed, and dynamic sit points don't really work well with those right now. So yeah, I'm not 100% if that'll come in either. I assume that it eventually will work, but it probably won't be anytime soon.
That's good to know. The next one is from Terj. Can we have a progress indicator when import/uploading an object?
Don, we've talked about this a bunch of times, and I know there's a reason we've decided not to do it. I just can't remember what it is specifically.
Is
Don't
it?
say okay, but there's some technical reason for why we decided to not have a bar and chose the spinner instead. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but if Don comes
The
back, well, we can ping him again with that.
Sorry, what was this? The progress bars?
The progress bars
Progress
on
bars.
importing, uploading an object to Edit World versus we have a spinner. Why don't we use a
Mhm.
progress bar? Was the question.
I don't think it was a good reason. I think somebody just thought it would be a good idea. So we can
Oh,
get
okay.
the UI.
I thought we had some tech reason.
I don't think that I think that we know the size and we know the progress is coming. There was some deep issues with assets for the asset upload pipeline back in the day, but I think that that's been changed at this point.
Okay.
Where we can get a size coming back to do progress.
It's
So
kind of one of
short
those
answer
things
is
where
yes, but not right now. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, it's kind of one of those things where a progress bar is really useful when you have lots of little files that are updating or moving because you can show what's moving and updating. But with an asset upload, it's really doing one thing, which is just converting the model. There's not a whole lot of information to actually show. So a progress bar would just kind of estimate how long something might take to load and kind of maybe represent that, but it doesn't actually show like what's being done because it's really just converting a model. So there's not a whole lot of information
Well,
to show.
if we knew how big it was, we knew how fast it was uploading, you might be able to determine how long it would take. But
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it might end up being
for-
one of those things where if your internet connection drops a little bit, you might end up hitting like 99% and then sitting there for 5 minutes, you know? So it's not super useful, but
it's like the Windows update.
yeah.
2 minutes,
For-
6 months,
I know that
3 minutes.
for
Yeah.
downloading, yeah, for downloading very large assets, I think that the manifests were not updated to have size on those. So I mean, for downloading it might be issues, but we already have progress bars for when you're joining the scene, so it's less of an issue.
Next question is, can we ever get reflective water like SL? And I believe we would need a different shader for that that we just don't have right now. So no, not until we get a new shader person on the team.
All right.
Uh,
The next one we have is from Loki. Why can't we preview an object's animation in Edit World?
It's a good question. It's a good question.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good question. You should
So-
be able to, but that's just the feature isn't there.
Yeah, it's actually one of the things. I don't know how many of you remember when we moved off of local edit world to server edit world, but that was kind of one of the first steps that we needed in order to do those kind of things. Animations, scripts, all those things are actually run server side. And when you're on a local edit server, they just won't run because of that. But getting the edit servers up and running was kind of one of the first big things we needed to do to get those kind of things going. But, you know, we got those up and running, but we just had other things kind of come up, and that wasn't as important. But having the edit servers up and running was the big first step that we needed to actually do those kind of things.
All right.
Is that on the list somewhere? Because it sounds like that's actually closer in reach now than it was before. Do we
Yeah,
already
I
have
mean-
that recorded.
Yes, we do.
It is definitely on the roadmap, but it's
Okay.
The next question we have is from Henry G. How difficult is it to create scripts? How difficulty is to create scripts? It could be limited scripts that runs on client after load. I mean, to give you a scenario, a script that's pulse a light for each 0.5 seconds. Actually, if you put your computer in flight mode or disconnect your router, the light will stop immediately because the Sansar architecture is about sending the updates to all clients at once so everybody could be in sync with the changes caused by scripts. Something that just executes in client side could be very useful.
Yeah, we wanted client-side scripts for quite a while. It just hasn't become a high enough priority to make that push. There's also, you have to be careful about what the scripts could do to people's clients. You don't want to have any griefing or things like that. But it is something that's been on our list for quite a while. I don't think we would get good to get to it anytime this year. Alex, you have another idea on that?
No.
All right, we'll go ahead to the next one. From Vitamin C, can we get a way to lock into an animation when it is triggered via volume? For example, entering into a trigger volume to make you swim, but to not stop the swim animation if you move whilst in the trigger volume.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at. I was just trying to think if there's a way to already do it.
Yeah, I'm sitting here trying to think of it too. It's kind of like the situation we were talking about with like cars and WASD. Is once you use WASD, you stop and go into the walk animation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like the grab. You can set an object to be a sticky grab, so you can't just accidentally drop it. You have to push a key to drop it. We were talking about doing the same kind of thing with like cars, having sticky dynamic sit points. So when it sounds gross, I know, but having sit points where you have to push F to get out of them, so WASD won't make you stand up. The same type of scenario could be used with like normal animations, is kind of having sticky animations where in order to get out of the animation you have to press F. So WASD could still move you around without stopping the animation. So
Yeah. We were also talking way back when we were getting into the game side of things about like character controller mechanisms and like ways for you guys to like this is a ways out if we ever get to it. I'm just telling you guys what we talked about in the past, but like a character controller within the editor where you can define the different animations that go along with different movements and the different kinds of movements that your character can do. We decided to not do that way back when because it's just a whole lot of work on your guys' plate too, to create all those animation sets and make them look good too. I mean, just making the walking and running ones is a task in of itself, let alone swimming and jumping and flying and whatever climbing you want to make too. So we'd looked into it, but yeah, just never got to it.
Next question that we have, these are from Loki Elliott. Can we have edit materials for custom avatars in the lookbook? I think that he means like after the fact, possibly?
like using the material editor, like what we have in this scene editor?
Yeah, I think what he's saying is that you can edit it after the thing, so you don't have to completely re-upload it.
Yeah, so that kind of sounds like going back to the custom or the avatar custom skins. We have talked about. I think it came up in the last product stand-up was users wanted the ability to like right-click an asset from your avatar inventory and use the material editor on it. Is that kind of what we're asking for here?
Yeah, so you don't have to upload it every single time. Editing the materials after import. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that got brought up last time too. I'm not sure where that is on the roadmap, but it has been brought up
a ways out.
Times.
It's a ways out.
Yep.
All right, and then the next one is...
Yeah, Med.
Mm-hmm.
I was just answering Med, yeah. He's on point.
Oh, okay. The next question is also from Loki. How long ago did they get edit servers up and running?
Oh, God.
Many a couple years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was about 3.5 years ago. I think it's been a little over 3 years.
If you remember the days when you hit edit and you didn't have to wait for the server to spin up, that's when we changed.
That's the end of the questions for now, from what I can see. Oh, we do have a feedback from Terj. When the simple script mover script has moved and reset moved, it does not move anymore.
Curious?
There is a option in there for repeating. That may have just been turned off, or maybe the command is only being called once. I'm not sure, but I have a few scripts that all use the movers, and they're all working the way I expect them to. So it might just be something in your script that's written wrong.
To be honest, it can be a little unintuitive sometimes when you set them up. So. All right. Well, we got about 1 minute left for a few of us before we got to bounce off to some other meetings.
Ask now or forever hold your peace.
Crazy.
DNA ask, any news on eye tracking for avatar interaction?
I have got no news on that front, my friend. Sorry.
And just to be clear, that's the thing where your avatar's eyes or head will actually point kind of where your mouse pointer's at, right? Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure.
And we have 2 questions from Visay from the stream. Hey, what do you think about adding a minimum draw distance value for objects along with already existing maximum draw distance? This would allow creators to manually create and tweak their LOD.
So an object would disappear if you get too close to it, is what I'm interpreting that out as, right?
I believe so.
What else would you use that for?
Maybe like a fog of war type of situation.
Vesse is typing back, it seems. Yes, lower LOD would disappear when you get close, he says.
Oh, I see. So the LOD system right now, it's supposed to be at the highest LOD when you're all the way close to it like that. But the LOD we do need to kind of revisit in any which case.
And he said and be replaced by higher LOD, yes. So the next question we have from Visse might be related. Also, any thoughts on adding dynamic batching? It would give huge benefits for large scenes with duplicate objects like grass, trees, trash, particles, etc.
That
that
almost
would be a nice
sounds
feature.
like a prefab system.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's prefab's one thing, and then actually batching it is another. One's organization, the other's actual loading. But in terms of any thoughts on that, I'm not the right guy to ask. I'm sorry. That's more of like a engine level question.
Yeah, I don't work in that area of things. Sorry.
All right, let's take a couple more questions, and then
Two
a few of us got to
more.
bounce here.
Two more I believe we have time for. First one's from Vitamin C. Can we get bigger light range for point lights? If we have something very far, it is impossible to lighten up with our current point light radius.
I mean, there's a certain performance implication that goes along with that, but like I've said in the past, we give you enough rope to hang yourself with. So, but what kind of limits are you being constrained by that you want it bumped to?
Yeah, the other problem is when you have really long ranges on your lights, something you need to remember with lights is they're really expensive. So if you have a really long range on a light, that means everything that's being touched by any of those photons, even if the light isn't strong enough to actually see the light bouncing off of it, has to be rendered an additional time. So it's probably better to use really small ranges and just move the light closer than to have just a giant light, because that's really heavy on the render.
That's where level design chops come in, where you start
Yeah.
like duplicating lights in ways that are kind of tricky, and it actually looks like one light source, but you're using two short light sources, if that makes sense. So you have one light lighting up the source and then one lighting up the subject, but it's not actually one light crossing that entire distance, lighting up everything in between.
That makes
And you
sense.
should always try to use the absolute minimum range that you can get away with on lights, because they're just expensive.
Henry, stop asking questions.
Mirror shader, yeah.
Just get out of here, Henry.
The dream.
just stop.
All right, and the last question we have appears to be from Elvin. Can we not have it so we don't see our avatar in first person? If you jump, you see inside of yourself.
Yeah, go pick the avatar that's invisible, and then problem solved.
Well, but then nobody can see your avatar. Wait, we really should have we really should have an option in our general settings to hide your first person avatar. I do agree with that. So, but right now we don't have anything for it.
Snarky.
We did have a fix go out. It should be out right now, where at least when you're using a dynamic set point that's animated, that's moving really quick, we had a bug where the camera would actually kind of lag behind. It's kind of the same bug that we have when you jump. The camera kind of lags behind a little bit. So I'll get a bug written up for that if I don't have one already. I'll have to double check, but so I need to take off too. I'm a little over time, but
I'll take this last one from Zero, and then I got to bounce.
Yeah, I'll get a bug written up for that first-person avatar stuff.
Zero's question is, would you consider animating the eyes of avatars to look around and bring more life instead of just the dead 1,000-yard stare that they always have? And the answer is yeah. We have totally thought about that, and had some fun designs for it too, where like people walking by you, people speaking, people doing certain actions like interacting with an object or emoting would be certain like touch points or attention points that could potentially cause other avatars to look over at them, both with their eyes and their head. So as people walk around naturally and start talking and doing what people naturally do, avatars would sort of respond in kind. And they wouldn't all do the same thing. So it's not like you'd have someone walking past the group and everyone in the group is just looking at that one person as they walk by, right? It would kind of be mixed and randomized a little bit. And then on top of that, yeah, a little bit. You have to be careful with that Uncanny Valley stuff. But some other games have done it really well. Like if you look at Grand Theft Auto 5, the NPCs and even the player characters and online, there's a very good sort of they all feel alive. They're breathing, they're looking around, they're not like emoting all the time, but they're alive. And then the other part of it in Sansar that we were talking about, and I think someone actually asked about it earlier, was it's like look to mouse is how I refer to it. But as you move your mouse around the screen, you're usually doing that because you're interested in wherever your mouse is. Like I'm hovering my mouse over Vitamin C right now. That's because I kind of wanted to see what he was wearing. And as I move my mouse around, my character's head and eyes should follow that too, and perhaps the torso. So you guys can get a sense for where I'm looking and what I'm looking at and what I'm interested in. As everyone does that, their characters all just tend to look more alive. And yeah, we were looking at it like a smorgasbord, like a blend of the two. So if you're kind of AFK or you're not hands-on at the moment and you're just talking, your avatar would kind of take over a little bit. It wouldn't be too overbearing and start looking around on its own as you're talking and people are talking to you. And then you would also have that direct drive component as you move your mouse around. Yeah. Maybe there's a slider in the character creator for like innocent versus naughty, and that determines where their eyes look.
Hey, I'm just glad we don't have the creepy smile in the Lookbook editor anymore. That was mildly terrifying, if you guys remember that from way back in the day.
All right, but that's all I got time for. Thanks for being here, y'all.
Thank you guys for
Y'all
coming on
later.
out to the product meetup, and thank you guys to the Wookiees that are able to come, and we'll see you guys not next week, but the next week, and we'll see you guys at all the events coming up. All right.
Bye.